today with one of our newest Arizona drag racing legends, Darin Dolezal. Darin is also one of our newest Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame members as well. And we're happy to have you here. How are you doing today?
Good, Chris. Thanks.
Yeah, your story is awesome. We know that you're a family man. You've got great kids, great grandkids. Well, good grandkids that are also great, not great grandkids yet, but you gotta watch the way that terminology is.
True.
But where you originally from?
Chandler.
So you
was born at Williams Air Force Base.
So was your dad in there?
My dad was in the Air Force. Yep.
Well, that's awesome. You grew up in the Chandler area, and
Yep. Been there since '59.
When was your first memory of thinking cars are pretty cool?
My dad, the first car I ever rode in was a '55 Chevy. From here to Indiana, probably 6 months old. So I've been wanting to get a '55 Chevy just because of that, but it's not major important. But anyway, growing up being a kid, he had muscle cars. I mean, he watched racing and stuff, just like, whatever.
So he's a hot rodder.
And actually back then, Grand National stock cars was the deal, instead of NASCAR the way it is these days. So, I mean, I watch it, but it doesn't turn me on like it used to back in the day. But anyway, he had muscle cars, Chevelle, Super B, all that. So I was kind of around car stuff then, and one thing led to another.
What was your first car?
'63 Galaxy 500.
With the 390?
352.
352, okay.
Yeah. 352, it looked like a 427, the badass, except mine wasn't the fastback, it was a squareback. But I had thrush mufflers on it, mag wheels, and jacked up everything we did back then.
The hijackers on it, or?
No, my dad showed me a trick. We flipped the shackle over to kick the ass of the car up.
But your dad was supporting your.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then obviously I was in high school, and then another friend's brother worked at a parts house in town. And I'd see this car sitting out front. Anyway, ended up being a '63 Pontiac Tempest Le Mans, and I bought it with no motor and stuff. And punk kid, just doing my own deal. Found a motor through newspaper, put it together. Started going to Beeline and high school drags, bracket racing out there, midnight drags, all that kind of stuff. So
your first time to the races, did you go before you actually took your car out?
Oh yeah, I used to go out there. A friend down the street, couldn't even tell you his name these days. I mean, we were young. His mom or something would take us out there, drop us off, spend the day hanging out, hot rod, all doing what you do, and get a ride back home. And did that a few times, and before you know it, I mean, how time flies. In high school, I had those two cars when I was a sophomore in high school. So the Tempest was worked on after school and in between work, and drove the Galaxy every day.
So that was your driver.
Yep.
In high school, anything else significant happen when you're in high school?
As far as car-wise?
Maybe
or
romance-wise?
Girls-wise?
Yeah, girls-wise.
We both did our deal probably pretty much till our senior year.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, I seen her around. I don't know if she seen me. It doesn't matter. But she did her deal. She was into sports. She was doing track, so she had some racing in her blood.
So
right
she was
there.
hard to catch up with.
Yeah. Well, plus she had racing in her head right then, I think. And then when we got together, just one thing after the other. Make a plan and either ditch school, or I'd pick her up from. I think she worked at Jack in a Box. I'd pick her up there in the morning and haul us out to Beeline and race, and on and on.
What was your first real race car when you consider a purpose-built race car?
The purpose-built car that I actually was involved in building,
yes, was
my '81 Camaro. Myself and Mark Leonard built it from the ground up. Badass car. Did everything. I mean, we made all the brackets. We were kids. We couldn't afford shit.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the cool part about drag racing is that there's still a lot of ability for people to do certain things themselves.
Right.
Unfortunately, the schools, they don't really teach kids like they used to teach them,
Right.
but still, it's still the ability. I mean, I think everybody had big dreams and under budget,
Right.
and we're able to.
When we were in school, Mark had a 67, 66, whatever, Chevy 2. Solid concrete backyard. His dad was crazy. Always working on his race car shit. I mean, and he was smart back then. I mean, just engineering wise, and to this day, he's so anal and builds stuff still. We built that car together. My Trans Am that I race, that I still have, he originally built for himself, basically an outdated Pro Stock car, and it's been pretty good to us over the years. Lots of rounds.
It's taking a lot of places.
A lot of places. And then he built a dragster that somebody didn't come through on. We ended up buying it and put Debbie in it originally after her Spitzer car. And then we got a Yancer car. So she's still in the Yancer car. I still have the Trans Am. And then I got my Roadster that I race in super gas primarily right now. And it's back to the Trans Am. That's been my biggest winning as far as money and material. The Pink's All Out at Firebird. I won that event. And then
What was that like when you? How did you get invited to do? Was something they invited you to join, or did you
no,
sign up? You just showed up for it.
you just show up and they go through their, you make time runs, whatever you do, whatever their system was, and they see cars they like or spot or how they ran. And at that event, back then, 90, whatever it was, they put so many cars in a hat, and then they would dry out 16 cars. The ones that ran the closest to 90 to 999 is the area they picked for that event. All the other events, it hasn't been like that. So, and they let dragsters run in it too, so Debbie ran in it. And we actually both got picked. And I raced her second round, but she gave it to me, of course. And then just kept going, and like I say, that Trans Am is badass. It's deadly. It was good.
So on that particular one, it was an elimination bracket that you didn't have to put up the pink slip for your.
Not
race
on that
car?
one, no.
Yeah.
No, you could bet in between rounds, and I mean,
Side bets and all that.
yeah. I mean, like it was $2,000 to bet when we raced, and of course we bet the whole amount if we wanted. So whether I kept it or she kept it, we got it. Put it in the pot.
You just let it roll it over.
But just how, I don't know how they did the ladder, or how it came around for your next pairing or whatever they did, but it ended up cool. It was very cool. It was a whole different experience. It's not the normal racing that we're used to. Flag drop, hand deal, or no flag, hand drop deal, no lights, no nothing, just old school type racing. It was pretty cool.
First one there wins.
Yep.
The what was, I mean, when you're doing that, was it like, did it drag on a little bit because of the TV production side of it, or?
A little bit. Yeah, playing camera games in and out and all that stuff, and you know, being involved in that situation and going deeper into the rounds, it didn't matter at that time, you know, because especially on something like that, where the stands are packed, the biggest at that time, the biggest venue that we raced in, with that many spectators and the whole situation.
So it's a good feeling to be there.
It was very cool. It was very cool.
The in that car, you've done a lot of things with it, and you've really, because it's so close to it. I mean, you've probably modified it or updated over the years in any way, or is it pretty much the way it was?
It's pretty much the way it was. It's actually ready to go do some testing again right now. It's been setting for a while because I have a Roadster. I've been racing in super gas primarily. But that car's been in super gas, super comp, super eliminator back in the day, which there wasn't major amount of door cars back then that would run 790.
Right.
So I played pretty hard in that. I think one year in Division 7 I finished 5th, maybe 7th, I don't remember. But for a door car racing those dragsters, it was pretty cool. And then when everything changed, and I've been running it in Top Sportsman a few years ago, and the very first year they started Top Sportsman, the third event out, which separated door cars to dragsters. First, second race, third race, I ended up winning Vegas, my first divisional event, and then played a little bit, and then just technology. These cars are out of control. I mean, I have a little South Chandler type cool car, and I'm racing against $300,000-$400,000 cars. But it does the job. It still does the same thing. You got to cut a light and run the number.
Race the track. So you have a Roadster.
Yep.
Tell us about that car.
32 Chevy, Dodge, Pontiac, whatever you want to call it. I think they pretty much all look the same. Got it from a buddy of mine, Jody Davis, Torco distributor here in town, dealer, and we were talking one day and at the boat races actually, and conversation came up, and the car's been setting, and I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do with that car? You know, and I said, we want to make a change. You want to do a deal? I'll trade you a dragster, because I had a dragster extra. And I said, I'll trade you a dragster for that Roadster. Come over and check it out, you know. So one thing led to another, and we worked out the deal, and I took the car and put his drivetrain out and put mine in it. Started messing with it. Had some problems for a while. It was originally a comp eliminator car. So to get it set up right where it would cut a light and be, because our deal, you got to be so competitive, it's crazy. It took me a while, but I finally got it figured out pretty good.
Did pretty well with it.
Won multiple rounds here and there, and then to this date, our biggest win is winning a national event, Wally, at Denver in 21.
How'd that feel?
In front of major crowd people. That was very cool. Very cool.
It had to be. I remember being excited for you when I saw that. That was quite the.
After all these years, to win the large Wally is, and we've won a couple other small ones for best appearing crew and all that. You know, thanks to Tom back in the day at Desert Designs here, and a couple other friends for designing and doing sewing, making team shirts and all that. So it's been cool.
So, what's your life lessons, or what would you tell people? What would you do to encourage people to go drag racing today?
Everybody thinks it's so easy, and my smart ass comment is, if it's so easy, get your stuff and come show me. Let's go. But we need people to keep rotating and getting in, because things have changed so much, even from way back when I started, which we don't need to start all over, but after high school, I ended up moving in with Johnny West, and we, obviously me and Debbie were together at that time. She hung out a lot. We learned a lot. I learned a lot, obviously, motor-wise. We traveled around doing a lot of match racing, and then, you know, the funny car deal he got into. I painted his first funny car body, and the Roadsters here and there, and just, anyway, things have just changed so much from then to now. And the reason we got out of that is getting married and having kids, and just couldn't be doing all that, you know. So when we decided to get back into stuff, I had a little street car type Chevy 2 myself, 63, 65, whatever. Cruised around on the street raced a little, because actually the Beeline was closed by then, and everything else was going on. So
you didn't drive across town to Phoenix Dragway?
No, I ended up trading it, and I got a front motor dragster. So we tried that with a Pontiac motor in it, and went out to Mel Larson's, and that was, believe it or not, one of the trips there on I don't know when. One of the trips there was the very first motor that I ever scattered and blew up. Kicked the rods out of it, typical Pontiac deal.
It was all in front of you.
Freaking oil all over me. It was pretty.
You're not a real race car driver unless you get the oil bath every once in a while, right?
Yep.
You got that out of your system?
Yep. And obviously we've heard shit ever since then, off and on, but we've been pretty fortunate, knock on wood.
What do you do to support all this? Tell us about your business.
Normal body and paint. Back years ago, used to do a lot of race car work, a lot of race car painting, repairs, and a lot of connections were through Johnny because of the pro activity that he had. Bazemore, we used to call him Blazemore, stuff like that.
Blaze Whitmore.
Yep, fixing his stuff. Multiple different funny cars back in the day. A couple top fuel cars. Jerry Eckman's Pro Stock car did work on that. But that's cool. But even back in that era, the money wasn't there like what it costs to get stuff done these days. But insurance work is pretty much where it's at. And I'm going to be 65, so I'm slowing down and I'm not taking a lot of work in, but I'm still staying busy and trying to move money to support this bad habit.
You're a race car junkie, right? Drag racing junkie.
Yeah.
Overall, it's been your family's involved with it. Your lovely wife. You do it as a family. Your story is pretty awesome. Any dreams? One more thing? You have a bucket list thing you want to achieve before you hang up the helmet?
Yeah. Me and Debbie, we do everything together. I'm definitely lucky.
That's a blessing. It really is. And people don't think of one of you without thinking of the other.
Right.
That's how much you two go together, and that's something that both of you should be very proud of, because you're each other. You're perfect for each other, and you're a great family and a great team.
At this point, a goal would be for her to get a Wally. I've got some. Brandon's got one already. The granddaughter, she's won like 6, maybe 7 Wallies between her age group, starting at 12 to 14 right now.
So what kind of race car, when she jumps out of junior drag, what you going to put her in?
She might be driving Brandon's old car that I have at the shop that's sitting there race ready right now. She might be driving it, or I have matter of fact, a guy from town, Jesse Freeman's old super stock Camaro, the 82. Matter of fact, it's in getting body work done right now. I'm squeezing it in between work. She might drive it in brackets, or we're going to set it up and start doing some of the 8th mile big dollar bracket racing. Just because the NHRA stuff is turning so involved in having grade points, and you got to travel everywhere to get grade points. Like at this point right now, we would like to go to Sonoma, but Super Comp is closed for Debbie to race. So if we go, I'm going to have to drive my Trans Am. She's going to drive my Roadster, or her Roadster.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just the kids are an awesome deal to go watch and be around. And the youngest grandkid, Dexter, Amber's son, doing quarter midgets for years, did pretty good, and now they're doing the dirt deal now, and it's a new world. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Something you should be very proud of, your accomplishments. Before we go, I want to thank you for being here. You and your family are just really good for drag racing. Your passion for it, the things you've done, your stories are amazing. You're definitely an Arizona drag racing legend and a deserving member of the Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And thanks again for being here today.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you very much.
Okay.